In this final section, I will be talking about the music industry in Korea, which is worth $5 billion and is the 6th largest music market in the world. Except I won't really be talking about the music industry. K-pop is a form that involves several different media, and it's even questionable whether music represents the center of that model. In this section, I'll be making the argument that K-pop is where multimedia franchising is developing the most in Korea, and that K-pop's media convergence is driving the push of Korean culture onto the global stage. But first, the key players. There are 4 major labels in K-pop, often called the Big Four. Big Hit, JYP, SM, and YG. Big Hit, with BTS under their belt, represents the biggest but also the youngest of the labels. It posted 41.7 million in earnings in H1 2020 and has a market cap of about 4 billion. JYP comes in second with 16.1 million in earnings and a 1 billion market cap. SM, though struggling in earnings at 5.4 million, is still close in market cap at 950 million. YG, however, after a year of scandals, received a small earning of 167k, leaving its market cap at 500 million. Given its recent success, let's look at Big Hit in more detail. In October, the company went public, and despite a shaky start, the stock has stabilized at about $144 a share as of mid-November. Some are worried, though, that the stock will turn at even the smallest blip in BTS's reputation, since the growth of Big Hit has entirely relied on this one group. For Korean stocks, public reputation plays a significant role. Scandals of any kind can end up hurting your company's financial standing and worth. While BTS has so far avoided major scandals, the reputation of an individual group can always seem volatile and subject to change. On top of this, the members are nearing their deadline for enlisting in the Korean military. South Korea is one of the few countries left to have a mandatory military service for its men, and it is generally frowned upon for anyone to skip this duty. Therefore, Big Hit, while their spending power still holds strong, is looking to diversify their revenue streams. In May, they acquired another label called Pledis, which owns major K-pop groups like 17 and Newest. Other subsidiaries include Source Music, another label, BNX, an online platform developer, BOrigin, a content publisher, Superb, a game developer, Weverse for social interactions with fans, and WePly for merchandise and ticketing. Here we see Big Hit doing the same as other media conglomerates like CJ and Naver, acquiring different media to ensure longevity and flexibility in a highly convergent and integrated mediascape. With the labels introduced, now let's get into the groups. But the seemingly simple question of who is the biggest groups in K-pop can yield different answers depending on what your definition of big is. One definition would be concert revenue. In 2019, BTS grossed nearly 44 million in live concerts, followed by Blackpink, NCT 127, Twice, and GOT7. If we look at the Billboard Global 200 charts, however, a different ranking appears. BTS and Blackpink are still at first and second respectively, with BTS's Dynamite peaking at 1 and Blackpink's Lovesick Girls peaking at number 2. Twice, however, jumps to the third spot with I Can't Stop Me peaking at 35, while ITZY takes number 4 with Not Shy. While NCT is still represented at the 5th spot with Make-A-Wish is actually an NCT U song, which is a different subunit from NCT 127 we've seen in the previous chart. Complicated, right? Well, it gets even more so if we consider the domestic-international split that we've seen in both film and TV. Melon, which is a go-to music streaming service in Korea, has a top 10 chart, and the groups that have the most songs in the top 10 are Twice and EXO, with 11 songs each. Then that's followed by Mamamoo with 9, and then BTS and Red Velvet at 8 each. This ranking is pretty different from the first we considered, which includes concert revenue from around the world. Fans within Korea and outside Korea often have differing tastes, and the battles for who is more popular can sometimes get pretty heated. Nowhere is this more prevalent than in YouTube views for music videos. Since 2019, BTS and Blackpink have had somewhat of a showdown on who can break the record for the most views in 24 hours. As of November 2020, the top 5 videos that have broken this record are BTS's Dynamite with 101 million views within the first 24 hours after release, then Blackpink with How You Like That at 86 million, then Blackpink again with Ice Cream at 79 million, then BTS's Boy With Love at 74 million, and then Me by Taylor Swift at 65 million. You go, Tay. Not you, Tae. Finally, to kind of get ahead of all this complexity, the Korean Business Research Institute publishes a brand reputation ranking for K-pop groups as well as variety shows. Under this more holistic rubric, the ranking for October 2020 goes BTS, Blackpink, NCT, Oh My Girl, and G-Idol, the latter two of which we haven't even seen before. This demonstrates that there are many different measures for K-pop popularity, but I would argue that brand reputation's holistic approach is most apt, since K-pop often goes beyond individual songs or albums. BTS is actually an excellent case study in transmedia, which, according to scholar Henry Jenkins, represents a process where integral elements of a fiction gets dispersed systematically across multiple delivery channels for the purpose of creating a unified and coordinated entertainment experience. Since BTS's third EP, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life in 2015, BTS has been building a BTS Universe. Fans first noticed that there seemed to be a continuous storyline going through the BTS music videos, and each member seemed to be playing a fictional character with their own symbols and story arcs. Overall, the universe involves music videos showing each of the characters' themes and symbols, physical albums, which include diary entries from each character, concerts which add more footage and imagery to the music videos, websites with hidden messages for fans to decipher, and most importantly, fan theory forums and videos, which represent the fan engagement that is crucial to any transmedia project. In January 2019, Big Hit released a webtoon that solidified the story, which fans have been guessing at for years, providing some payoff to a long-term transmedia strategy that is still going on to this day. While in-depth fan engagement is the ultimate goal, labels still have to worry about how to get the casual listener to listen more, especially if we're considering markets outside of Korea. Entire value chains have been set up in large cities like LA in order to support the K-pop industry, from local retailers to concert venues. Much of this value chain is also operated by fans, who organize in clubs to coordinate promotional efforts for their favorite K-pop groups. Different groups also have different strategies for which markets they want to expand into. BTS, for example, set its sights on the US early on, with their show American Hustle and their stylistic leanings towards American hip-hop. RM, the group's leader, also tries to speak English as much as he can in order to minimize linguistic barriers in press interactions.
Back in the days, like when I was like 15, like 14, it was quite like a syndrome for all the Korean parents to make their kids watch the Friends.
Really?
So yeah, I thought I was kind of like a victim at that time, but...
Another strategy is to partner with local artists and create songs that fit stylistically into the local market. Super Junior's collaboration with Leslie Grace, for example, is an effort to break into the Latin American scene, where K-pop has been seeing significant popularity since the late aughts. Finally, K-pop itself can be argued as a global industry, given its recruitment of artists from different nationalities. Blackpink's Lisa is originally from Thailand, and this type of representation can help groups find success in that member's home country. All of these strategies are also often associated with a more immersive experience in Korean culture. KCON is an event that piggybacks off of K-pop groups entering new markets and provides a holistic cultural experience involving cosmetics, food, traditional art forms, and technology. Audiences consume K-pop along with a package of these other elements of Korean culture. According to scholar
Kim Seok-young,
extending the live event beyond its ephemeral circumstances means that affect will be commodified in a way that is consumable and that attendees of KCON will not be able to live without Korean music, clothing, food, and cosmetics in their daily lives. In the eyes of the South Korean government, foreign fans and consumers' continuous embodiment of Korean lifestyle outside of the 3-day convention frame is a dream scenario to enhance its soft power. Simply put, K-pop opens the market, KCON provides an immersive experience of Korean culture, and all of this adds to Korea's soft power around the world. In terms of governance for the K-pop industry, soft power is at the top priority. The Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism is in charge of regulating the industry, but there is really little regulation outside of copyright. One of the reasons why K-pop faces such little regulation is the amount of value it adds to the Korean economy. In 2019, BTS added more than 4.65 billion to the Korean economy and could generate 40 billion more over the next decade. Tourism has taken advantage of this. The Seoul Tourism Organization has partnered with BTS to promote tourism to Seoul. As well, the government-ran Imagine Your Korea website lists the locations of BTS music videos and album covers in order to encourage visits. It's estimated that roughly 796,000, or about 7% of foreign arrivals into Korea, are related to BTS in some way. And that's not including all of the other K-pop groups that is also generating revenue. Despite the seeming success of this free-rein approach, some have criticized the government for its handling of K-pop. Firstly, the private sector fears interference, even in the form of funding and support, because it sees the value chain as already set, with organizations promoting internationally and fans engaging in such promotional activities. Private companies don't see how the government can step in, and is worried that it might make the wrong move. Others also emphasize that regulation is very much needed in certain areas, such as the unfair treatment of artists in training, who are called trainees. As with other media industries, deregulation and government support are the major policies, and while they have worked to promote Korean soft power, how they should govern the industry domestically remains to be settled. Overall, I hope the framework of transmedia and the immersive experience of KCON help demonstrate how K-pop is beyond just music. It's definitely an industry that is convergent, integrated, and complex. And although it's been around for decades now, I still think there's a lot that we haven't seen from K-pop and a lot of development that's yet to happen. In other words, K-pop still has a lot up its sleeve. It's important to remember, though, that K-pop is very much a part of a larger cultural and political agenda to bolster Korean soft power around the world. And so there's a lot of vested interest that drives the industry forward. K-pop's convergent form, the fact that it holds within itself all of these other media and cultural products, involves many other industries, all of which benefit from K-pop's push into the global sphere. In conclusion, South Korea has a mature and powerful media industry that has a high level of soft power. Thanks to both government policy and corporate strategy, Korea finds a major portion of its media market outside of its borders, with international demand for its products at an all-time high, even though the Korean wave started decades before. While the entry of foreign services like Netflix and YouTube threaten local companies, it has also facilitated the export of Korean media on a global scale. Korean media enjoys transnational and arguably global popularity, while its domestic market represents a dynamic and diverse appetite for both local and international products. Thank you for watching episode 5, and that has been the entirety of my series on South Korean media industries. Thank you so much for sticking around with me. These videos were originally made for a class presentation, so I've been very fortunate and happy to turn it into a YouTube series as well. Honestly, as you can tell, I've been a fan of Korean products for a while now, and so it's been absolutely an eye-opening experience to be able to explore that in more detail and to create that into something that is a little more formulative and analytical. This is probably gonna go up towards the end of the year, and so happy holidays, have a good new year. I hope 2021 treats us all better than 2020 did, but I will see you guys in the new year with more videos, and yeah, I'm rambling now. Have a great new year. Bye. A very special thanks to Jenny Yu for helping me out with this project. You're awesome, girl. Thanks so much. And a thank you to my professor, David Craig, who gave me the freedom to allow me to do what I wanted with this project. So thank you both.